Hey guys, this is Shakti from Around the Wicket, where we not only speak about the game, but we try to learn more about the humans behind our sport. Now, cricket development globally never stops, and there are a lot of individuals and organizations who are working tirelessly behind the scenes to make sure that the foundations and the ethics of the game is being shared. I'm joined today by Esther de Lange, who is the Development Officer for Cricket in Europe and the former captain of the Dutch national women's cricket team. Esther, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
Firstly, tell us how things are. You're based in the UK, as we chatted. How are things going in Europe at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the pandemic is still going on, which is causing a lot of concern still. Thankfully, despite everything that's happened, there's a lot of cricket that's happened this summer, and the season is now kind of coming to an end. So a lot of the playing season is now ending, and we're starting to look towards 2021 and beyond to plan ahead. So it's been a strange summer, but we thankfully have been able to get some cricket out of it.
And with cricket, Esther, like with all our guests, I asked them how it all began. How did the affiliation to the game of cricket begin for you? And, leading from that, representing the, Dutch national team.
So I got introduced to cricket through the BBC in the Netherlands. So my dad used to watch cricket on TV, would have a test match on in the background, etc. So I saw the game and I thought, that looks interesting. It looks a bit different, very foreign to me. But then I did get an opportunity through my school to actually go to a club and try it out and do some taster sessions. And I was a very sporty kid, so I tried out many different sports. And with cricket, I really enjoyed it from day one, especially fielding, which was my absolute favorite. Couldn't bowl, couldn't bat, didn't matter, because I just loved chasing the ball around. So, and that club that I joined ended up being my cricket club, or my second home and my second family for the next 23 years. So, that's how it all started.
When did you realize that you had the potential to represent Holland?
Sure. So I saw the national team play when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and I remember thinking that's what I want to do. But it took another couple of years for me to actually build up the skill level and the experience level. I finally got selected for the under-21s team when I was 17 years old, and that was kind of the start of the journey with the Lionesses and with the women, and from then on I spent the next basically 15 years going through the age group team to the national team, then being dropped from the national team, going into the kind of the second team, or the A team, and then back into the national team eventually. So it was always probably from the age of 14, 15, I was like, this is what I want to do, and I'm really going to go for it. Yeah.
And you became the captain of the national team. Obviously, you represented Holland a few times, 122 times in all matches across formats, being the leading wicket-taker as well for Holland. Tell us some about some of the memories that you'll cherish for the rest of your life with the Holland team.
Yeah, I always loved to play for the Netherlands. Every game, every opportunity we got was precious. But obviously, the most vital memories are of playing at the very highest level, and going on tour with that team, and performing together, and playing against the top teams. Well, second-ranked top teams in the world, but playing against countries like South Africa and Pakistan and Sri Lanka and the West Indies. That was really exciting for us and for myself to really challenge ourselves at that level, going on tour to places like Bangladesh and Sri Lanka and South Africa. Those were phenomenal opportunities, and I always really cherished them. I have some great memories there of playing in a cricket stadium in front of 1,000 Bangladeshis that making loads of noise. That was really special. But obviously also the way you're together with a team is another thing where, you know, you're just part of a team that is working towards the same goal and training together, playing together, and that was also a big part of that journey for me. Yeah.
Outstanding. Esther, you were the development officer in the Netherlands for cricket as well. You helped promoting youth cricket, especially girls cricket. Tell us about that role, and obviously the challenges that come with the grassroots level in a country like Netherlands when it comes to the sport of cricket, obviously, because, you know, hockey and football, they're like, you know, very much more popular. So what did you experience at your time?
So, I mean, a couple of the challenges we face are around the lack of visibility of the sport and the lack of awareness of the sport. So whenever you go into school, you know, the first question you get is, is that the game with the hoops, or is that the game with the horses? You know, where do you park your horses was a question we got occasionally. So just introducing it to new people and getting them to understand that it's actually a massive sport globally, and it is really fun and exciting, because even if they did know the sport, that there was a bit of a stigma of it's slow and it's, you know, it's old-fashioned, it's boring, because they have very much the English white picket fence sandwiches, that whole image around it, which is obviously great, but it is not necessarily appealing to a 6-year-old or a 9-year-old who's you know, looking for fun, fast, etc. Other than that, we have in the Netherlands, there's a very active cricket community. It's a small community, but it's a very, very passionate cricket community. But that does mean that you've got a limited number of volunteers that are doing all of the work. So in terms of development and growing the game, it was tough, because it usually came down to the same people having to do more. So it was also about how do we actually grow the capacity around clubs to make sure that they can improve their reach and get more kids to come and play and facilitate more competitions. Yeah.
Now that you're, you know, ICC development officer for cricket in Europe, do you still keep an eye out on Dutch cricket? And do you feel like the game's moving forward in the country?
Yeah, I do think the game's moving forward. Obviously, the KNCB have got a fantastic opportunity with the Super League to increase the visibility. And I do follow some of the news that comes out of the Netherlands. And obviously, the Netherlands is part of Europe, so they are also part of my remit. So I do have an involvement with KNCB as well in terms of supporting and communicating with them. So so I do keep on top of what's going on in the Netherlands, and it looks like there's a lot of very positive development. There's some very, very good people involved with great ideas about how to grow the game and how to professionalize and set up the right structures and things like that. So that's really positive, and it's been good to see it, I guess, from an outside perspective. But I've now also got from the experience that I've had, I can look at what goes on in the Netherlands in a different way as well. And it always strikes me that potentially people in the Netherlands don't realize how lucky we are, how lucky I was. You know, I grew up playing for a club that had a turf pitch and had a junior section and had a women's team, and all those things were already in place. And in a lot of places, that's just not the case just yet. So I never realized just how lucky I was until I went to all these other places and saw the difference and how much has already been done within the Netherlands. But it's definitely looking like visibility is improving, and there's more there's more people around as well. There's more people investing into the game and helping it grow, which is great to see.
Yeah, and hopefully it keeps going, because we need more countries that can challenge, some of these big nations when it comes to the game of cricket. I guess, you were a leading advocate for some of the more innovative, styles of cricket. Obviously, smash cricket that was happening before. How did this, format come about, and what was the reason behind this?
So for the smash cricket came out of an understanding that we had of why kids were leaving the game. And I think it relates to what I was saying earlier about that perception of the game. It takes a long time, it's a bit boring, there's a lot of standing still. And we did find that when we asked kids that quit the game why that was, or when we talked to their parents, they said exactly that. They said, my kid was just standing around the field for a long time. They didn't have an opportunity, and when they did, they got out quickly and got demotivated. So we were losing kids, and if you're a small sport, you can't afford to lose them. Obviously we compete with hockey and football, who also lose a lot of kids every single year, but to them it's not that big of a deal because they still have another couple thousand that are still playing. So, but if obviously for cricket, if you're a small sport already, you can't afford to lose people in the same numbers. So we decided to put a format in place that was really fast, really fun, really active, and created loads of opportunities for play. We took some inspiration from what was happening in other countries. I spent a bit of time in Australia in 2013-14, and I was exposed to kind of what they were doing there with T20 Blast, and some of those rules that they had worked really, really well. So something like if you bowl a wide, then you get to hit the ball off a cone. And that was actually really good, because what happened was, instead of you bowl a wide and everyone's just standing there while the keeper throws the ball back to the bowler and nothing happens, actually there's a ball going into play. Kids are running around chasing after the ball. The batters are running around to try and get more runs. So there was much more activity and engagement in those formats. So we incorporated some of those into smash cricket. We attempted to make it a little bit easier to understand, and kind of worked. So but it wasn't necessarily the finished product when we launched it, and I don't think it's been really taken fully on board by all clubs. But it was definitely an intention to just make it fast, make it fun, and make it really engaging, and develop the skills at the same time as well. So. That was really the main reason.
Esther, since you've been deeply part of Associate Nation cricket as a player, now you're almost like an administrator for the sport. Have you seen much change when it came to your playing days to now being almost an observer of what's happening in Associate Nations?
So compared to when I stopped playing to now, there's so much more opportunity for the teams to compete. So the T20I status has made a massive difference in that. T20I status came in basically about a year and a half after I left, or basically when I joined the ICC is when I left Dutch cricket, and very shortly after is when T20I status came in. But it's really evident that it's created so much opportunities for teams to compete, for players to be exposed at a higher level. Just looking at my former team, the Dutch women's team, they've played so much cricket in the last 2 years since T20I status has come in, outside of ICC events, that was almost unheard of before. That we were always reliant on ICC events for us to get exposure against some of those bigger nations. And now, because of T20I status, that has really triggered a lot of activity. And obviously, the visibility of the game, and especially the women's game, has improved so much. And it really strikes me how many countries are heavily invested in the women's game and growing it and nurturing it and creating competitive teams and domestic structures that are sustainable. So that's really exciting to see and to be a part of as well behind the scenes.
Yeah, I mean, before COVID hit, the women's game was, on an exponential curve when it came to momentum. Unfortunately, with COVID, obviously, it slowed down slightly, but fingers crossed it keeps going in an upward direction. I guess now, coming to your current role with ICC Europe as the development officer for cricket, has the roles changed much, and what does your scope of your profession involve right now?
Yeah, so I mean, the development officer for Europe, I'm basically looking after 32 members in Europe, 32 associate members in the ICC here in this region. It's just a lot of countries, and my remit is very much I am the person when it comes to cricket. So we have other people in the team when it comes to finance and all of those other bits and pieces. But when it comes to cricket, then the members can come to me. So I'm looking after facilitating coach and umpire education, rolling out an entry-level program and getting cricket into more schools. So working with members on how to do that, how to set up the systems and give them the tools and the resources to do so. And then working on the high performance as well. So from my point of view, I'm supporting members in developing their high performance structure so that they can have teams compete at a higher level and making sure that they're supported in those way when it comes to planning, when it comes to talent identification or setting up selection criteria for some of them. So it's a very broad role, and I'm also almost as a consultant working with members around their organizations, and we will sometimes have conversations around commercial and digital. We will have conversations around governance. We will have conversations around strategy. So it's a very, very broad role, but mainly the focus is on those kind of development areas of getting more people involved in the game, getting them to compete at a higher level, and making sure that they have the structures in place in terms of coaches and umpires to facilitate that.
I was going to ask you that, is it just limited to playing? But obviously it's not. You've got umpire training.
It's much broader than that. Yeah.
And in terms of what's your yours and your team's near-term goals, with the development in Europe, and obviously what are you looking forward to in the future?
So obviously from an organizational point of view, we're hoping to create or we're hoping to support members to become more sustainable organizations and more how do I say this, make sure that they have a cricket engaged market, so a well-rounded sustainable organization with increased participation, with more funding coming in, with more teams competing at a higher level, etc. More fans of the game connected to those members as well. That's very much part of the conversation. It's not just about necessarily getting more players. It's making sure the whole ecosystem is healthy and self-sustaining. And obviously that's a long-term kind of goal to work towards, but that's definitely something that we're very invested in at the moment.
One of the nations that you are investing a lot of time and resources with is Germany. Can you tell us about how that's working out and more?
So Germany, like a couple of countries in Europe, have had a massive influx of refugees in after 2015, and a lot of those came from cricket playing countries and were cricket mad. So they've kind of lucked out a bit with this whole group of people coming in just wanting to play. So they've experienced a lot of growth, and it's not just Germany. There's a couple of countries. Sweden is another example where the same thing has happened within the last couple of years. But it's not just about getting more people in that way. We know that there's people that have been working very, very hard for a number of years to set up the right structures, to set up to become a bit more professional as an organization. And I know, for instance, on the women's side, there's been massive growth as well, which is completely unrelated to the influx of refugees. It's been very much a domestic growth with some expats coming in, but also a lot of connection to the local population that fell in love with cricket. So, and that's all to do with hard work from a group of people who are very passionate about growing the game, and really that's what it comes down to in most countries. It's a small group of people trying to make it happen, and in Germany they've been very successful at that, and they're moving towards a more professional model with more people employed in cricket, with very clear pathways for when you come into the game, all the way through to national team levels, and they've improved a lot, and obviously they're on a trajectory upwards, and they're going to set some ambitious goals. And we always say from our point of view, we're there to support. So whatever your goal is, we'll try and help you make it happen.
All the best to you and your team in terms of developing the game all across Europe. I've got some rapid fire questions, if that's okay with you, Esther.
Sure.
All right, I'm going to shoot along. So question number one, your favorite cricketer growing up?
Michael Atherton and Inzamam ul-Haq. They were the only ones I knew, really. So
You're across different sides of the world at the moment. Your most treasured moment in cricket?
Beating Ireland in an ODI at my home ground in front of parents, friends, etc. in 2011, I think it was. Yes.
Awesome. Your most difficult opponent?
South Africa. Well,
individuals?
as in like for I think we got beaten heavily by South Africa, but I mean, as a I know this is not rapid, but Ireland was always a very difficult opponent for us because we've played them a lot and we lost a lot, and we always wanted to win. We always came into every game going like, we really want to win this, but during my playing days, we only beat them once, and we did play them year after year. So that's why that victory is extra sweet. To be
fair
honest.
enough. And when it comes to an individual, who's the toughest? When it came to bowling,
Stefanie Taylor.
Yeah, from West Indies.
Stefanie Taylor. I turned to my captain halfway through my spell and I said, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to bowl, because wherever I bowl, she will put it away. It's just I'm out of options here.
She's still going strong. Yes. Stefanie Taylor. One thing in cricket that you hope can change?
That's a good question. I would say the pace of change in certain organizations. So I wish things could move quicker than they are sometimes.
Excellent. If you had to be one person for a day, who would they be?
Within cricket or at all?
Doesn't matter.
Michelle Obama, because she's awesome.
Awesome. Question number 6, sports person you would really like to meet?
Oh, that's a good question. Again, I don't know.
What about from Holland? Anyone that you haven't met that you feel like would have been lovely to meet?
Well, it's too late now because he's passed away, but I would have loved to meet Johan Cruyff.
Superstar.
Fascinating guy. Would have loved to meet him, but obviously that will never happen. But from living sports people, I've met so many fantastic cricketers already, so it's kind of like, well, who's left?
And for those cricket followers who don't know who Johan Cruyff was, he's a football superstar for the Dutch cricket for the Dutch football team. 2 more questions. One Dutch female cricketer that has the talent to compete against the best in the world?
Ster Kalis.
Yeah.
and she's I mean, she's in the UK at the moment in the regional competition. But yeah, she's a phenomenal cricketer.
Yeah, former world record holder as well in terms of the highest score.
Yes, yeah.
And the final question is, best cricketer to watch currently for yourself?
Honestly, I'm gonna say there are a couple of people that I actually play cricket with. I really enjoy watching them score runs from the other end. So Kath Dalton plays for my club and scores an absolute ton of runs. Beth Morgan is another one playing for my club team, and it's always a pleasure to watch her go about her business. So yeah, I'm gonna stick with those two.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Esther, for joining me on Around the Wicket. Really appreciate the time. Also wonderful to chat about Dutch cricket and the game's development in Europe. All the best, like I said, to your team. Fingers crossed, development programs keep going during these COVID times and beyond. Stay safe, and
thank you.
Fingers crossed we can cross paths one day.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Esther.